Hello, myself Sunil Ramkrishnan, and today basically we are going to talk about the Formula War, that is basically part 41. And in till now, basically we have discussed lots of things, lots of categories which are getting added in the formula attributes and formulas basically. So basically we have seen lots of things. In last basically we were talking about the cyber security, how basically the cyber security is working and how the basically each and every things are working. So basically I had taken one more example, that is basically just told in little bit and not uh, little bit brief basically. That is basically, for example, the World Bank is passing the data to each and every power companies, and then basically power companies are setting the data in the city basically, and the energy companies are setting the data into their city. So according to that, basically each and every buildings are standing at the straight position basically. That is basically we have already discussed. And according to that, basically uh, the each and every cities are getting um, in basically they are at a normal stage basically. You can say we can give a name basically, that is basically normal stage basically, normal status basically, you can say, of the city basically. And basically here basically I want to say one more thing basically, that is basically, for example, in Ukraine and Russia basically war is happening, right? So that war is basically happening, the reason basically, um, if one missile basically gets blast in the city and around 2 to 3 kilometers get blast, so that is basically, normally it is not possible, because it's normal some set of equipments basically can't blast the entire city, entire 1 or 2 kilometer areas basically. So that is basically due to with the help of the power companies and energy companies. So basically they have setted the 2 kilometer area range in the from with the help of the energy basically. So whenever that in that area, the when the missile will get blast, that time basically the 2 kilometer area is only going to get effect basically, you can say. So 2 kilometer areas are going to get effect basically. So here it would not be less also and it would not be more also. Because why? Because the power companies and the energy companies have settled the environment of that city basically. So this is basically about the explosive, how the explosive get blast. So basically here basically why I am talking in this formula word basically, because each and every expense which is getting occurred in the wherever area basically, that is going to directly affect in the project management plan. So basically project management plan, when basically is getting calculated, that time basically first world war happened, second world war has happened, so that data basically are also getting calculated in the project management plan formula basically. So basically, when the project management plan formulas were created and the attributes was created, that time basically the project first world war and second world war data was also taken basically. And in basically, we will see one more example, which is basically, for example, there is Germany city, right? That Germany, no, it's not city, it's a country. So basically Germany country, there basically lots of in World War Two and World War One, basically lots of cities were damaged. So basically assume that that is one of the cities which is taken in the text box area basically. So to create one text box in that city basically which was destroyed, that was also taken. So basically the each and every basically things incidents happen in that city basically, that is going to consider in the text box area basically. So that energy is also going to generate in from the text box basically. And there basically whatever the power supply is getting passed, that is basically also according to that only basically. So each and every things are getting calculated basically. If by chance Earth planet power industry fails to pass the supply, then satellites basically pass the data of that basically, that they will tell that you have forgotten the data to pass to that area basically. So it's like that basically. So that exclusive things basically was very basically it was new basically in project management plan. Basically reason is basically the project management plan says that we are taking each and everything and each and every aspects we are taking into consideration to create the project management plan formula. Reason basically is this much only, we want to create each and everything perfectly, because it might possible that whenever the software energy gets creates, that time basically the cost of the software basically might get differ basically. Reason basically, if you are not taking this all the thing basically, then the energy which is going to generate from the software, that is going to get differ. So basically you have to take each and every aspects basically which has happened. You have to take each and every aspect basically. Otherwise basically it will what happen, whenever the software energy is going to generate from that software or according to that land, then basically the software energy will get generate, and the data also is going to generate inside the body, but the balance sheet which is going to generate of the energies and the blood cells and the money basically which has spent, and the income which is going to happen, that is basically balance sheet basically of this four, basically 4 and 5, the way that will not get matched basically. Reason is just this only, because you have not taken the incidence, but the nature basically tells that we have to take the incidence. Whatever things has happened in the land, that basically we have to take. There is no option, because each and every things has already happened. So basically, already happened means 1983 World Cup, India has already won. 2011 World Cup also India has already won. So these things has already happened. So this is also like that basically. So whatever things basically to won the 1993, sorry 1983, what are the things done by the Indian cricket team, that basically Indian cricket team also know. And 2011 to won 2011 World Cup. So what are the hard work where they have done, that they also know. Basically they don't know, but their management basically know basically how they won the World Cup basically. So like this basically there are lots of things, and basically this thing also basically each and everything basically connected with the land basically, that is going to taken as a project management plan formulas and attributes basically. So here basically I would just want to tell that, for example, Microsoft is telling that we want the text box equal to 1,000 cities data. For that we have created lots of Facebook data. Facebook we have created Instagram, we have created Twitter. So basically we have tried to collect the data, but basically in this only basically there are many wrong information given basically. So basically what is real information, that basically only government can give basically, because government only have the data basically. For example, there is one person basically died 7,000 year ago. So 7,000 year ago the person has died, that basically person still exists. Because how? That is basically human clone industry exists in the world. That is basically a set of groups basically, that are basically software companies and satellites group. They are still basically have done the human clone of that person, and basically that person still exists. This is basically I read it somewhere, but this is also a fact basically. So basically it's the human clone industry basically has also converted into business basically. So this also basically project management plan basically has to take basically. Why? Because that person is staying in that land, and whatever things is going to in that land basically, that is basically considered as a project management plan formula only. I have taken one example of the balance sheet basically. How basically if you are not taking any of the incidents, then basically the balance sheet is not going to match of the software energy which is generated, and according to the energy, the expenses of that energy, the if expenses is happening in that blood cells basically, then basically it will not refer basically, means it will be difference basically. The difference will come basically in the software energy and the blood cells which is generated, and the money spent by the person basically, and the money spent by the construction and the city creation group basically, that are basically government only. So government only creates the city. So basically this type of thing has never happened also, and basically this balance sheet also mostly might not be there basically. So mostly this balance sheet might have to create basically, that how the basically software, because nowadays basically this, if this might have created long before, then basically corona disease which has came just now, then the disease which has came, and the medicine which the people are preparing, there basically they don't have to create the stage 1 medicine, stage 2 medicine, stage 3 medicine, stage 4, stage 5 medicine, still they are creating it, and still the corona is getting spread. So basically if they have this balance sheet, then basically it's very easy to find the medicine basically. So basically medicine industry will say that we are basically we should get the each and every data basically, because the data is not there, then how basically we can create the medicine basically. For example, text box equal to 1,000 cities. So whatever incidents happened is in that thousand cities, that is basically contains assume German assume that cities basically is containing First World War data, Second World War data, and each and every war was happened. That each and every data contains in that city basically. So that basically data you have to take basically when you are creating the text box basically. Text box will equal to thousand cities. Whenever you are going to create the thousand cities, that time basically that data also you have to take. If you will not take, basically you have spent the money right to create the city. So you have certain data. So whatever data you have, that only basically you are according to that data only you are going to create the city basically. But a few data you have not taken, so basically that you have not taken, that is not going to consideration into expenses, and in that energy generation of the city basically, which is getting passed, that will also not generate. But the satellite groups are passing the data, that is basically power supply. In that data basically they have the first world war data and second world war data also. Reason basically whenever the World Bank is passing the data to each and every city, that time basically lots of differs happens basically. Differs mean difference basically comes basically. So the reason is this only, because satellites group says that we have each and every data of each and every incidents happened, and basically according to that only we are passing the data. So World Bank says that we are getting the data from the satellites, and according to that only basically we are passing the data. And we basically sometime takes the data of the state basically also, that state says that we want this all data, and that data, that's this data. So basically according to that, for example, thousands one city basically in Vadodara that have 2000 buildings. So according to 2000 buildings and set of objects basically in contains in the city, according to that basically the data has passed by the state government basically. State government is passing the data state government says that we got this data from the cities, and according to the cities we have passed the data to the central government. So whatever things happens directly basically, that decision is taken by the central government only. So central government only takes the decision basically whatever things are happening. So central government take the decision of each and every states basically. Each and every, so central government know each and everything. But that basically the example I have taken basically that 2 kilometer power companies are setting the data for the war basically, that Ukraine and Russia war basically, because whenever the missile is going to blast, that is going to affect only to 2 kilometer area only basically. Because why? Because the environment which is setted by the power company and energy company, that is only of 2 kilometer only. So you can track from the power company basically where the data of this type of things are setted. So according to that only, the it's basically called Vatavaran basically. It's a environment basically which is already setted in the cities, in the areas, in the states, in the countries basically. So World Bank is passing the data. So World Bank knows each and everything basically, which type of data is going to pass and what are the things going to happen in that city, in city and which area. Basically. And this basically it's very critical basically. So it's very difficult to sometime track also basically, because it's not whenever until the data does not pass to the city, that time until that basically you can take the conclusion also. Sometimes this type of things also happen. So basically we are stopping here. This is basically 41th part basically. In 42 part we are going to let's see a little bit more about the formula word.